Hello my friends, Jeff Davis here, coming to you from Rotterdam, Netherlands. I'm an author, blogger, and speaker, and right now I am with Hans Scheffer, the CEO of Helloprint, a dynamic e-commerce firm that is one of the global leaders in printed products, and they make printing a lot easier. Hans, thank you so much for being with me here
today. Hi Jeff, pleasure to be here.
So I wanted to pick your mind about your passion, your energy, your success strategies. You have a dynamic culture here. You've done some great things, and Helloprint is growing very fast. You're headed to incredible places, to the moon and beyond. So I'm just going to ask you some questions right off the bat. So why did you start Helloprint?
Well, where I started Helloprint, I'm already in print business or e-commerce business for quite a long time. Started my first e-commerce company when I was 17 years old. And we evolved basically the whole print thing from being very offline to online. Sold my former company back in 2010 and thought, well, it might be time to do this again. And why in print? Because a lot of people are not aware of the fact that the printed industry is one of the largest industries in the world. It's the 5th largest industry. It's bigger than automotive. It's twice the size of the software industry, 50 times the size of the music industry. And print is a very complex product in a large industry. And we really thought that we could make a difference by making that order process of print very, very easy. And that's what we still do. So yeah, very attractive market, complex product, and then you can have some success, I think, when you do it properly.
Yes, that's absolutely true that there's a lot of people who do not realize how big the printed product market really is, and I give you credit for taking advantage of that and having the vision to see the opportunity and the growth potential. And you now have this company that has offices in several locations around the world. You're in 8 different countries, and actively growing. So my next question for you is, given the culture that you've built around this industry with your company, how would you define leadership, specifically authentic leadership, and how do you apply that with your culture?
Well, I think that the only thing that differentiates good companies from great companies is having the best people. And you can define having the best people in any particular way you want, but I think it all comes down on giving the freedom and responsibility that real leaders and responsible people need to excel and outperform on their qualities. And I think authentic and great leadership are all around that. So let people do their thing, give them the responsibility and the freedom that they deserve, and try to get them in their powers. And I think if you succeed in that, and you do that in a very authentic way, I think that you can define as great leadership.
Absolutely, absolutely. Freedom and responsibility are definitely hallmarks of great leadership, and encouraging the people within your organization to come forth with that is very important. So that's excellent. I think that more companies would benefit from doing that. So the next question I have for you is, as we move along here, is you have a very rapidly growing company that is doing well and is taking advantage of the opportunities in the printed products market. What are your biggest challenges, or what are some of your obstacles along the way as you're exploding at an exponential rate?
Yeah, so when you are having an exponential growing organization, you're facing quite some challenges at every single aspect of the business, I think. But I think the biggest challenge always is how to grow your business by keeping your culture and getting the right people on board and keeping the right people. So, and that's basically what I'm doing the whole day, is constantly restructuring the organization, restructuring teams, seeing where the gaps are, trying to find new people who are fitting the culture, and try to evolve the people in the teams into our culture. And I think, when you're growing faster than your company's abilities can grow, that's your biggest challenge, I think, to keep up with the growth of your company, also in terms of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, restructuring teams is definitely an ongoing challenge, and being able to see who needs to be sitting in the right place and doing the right things at the right time. So
I think a great company is always busy with restructuring and building the organization of the future, and that's basically what it is. So you now need to think how the organization will look like in 18 months. And now start recruiting for that, but also to start developing the people in your teams now to be a leader also, not only now, but also in that future, so over 18 months. And so you're constantly forecasting the growth that you want to achieve with your company, also in terms of organizational design.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you do remarkably well, Hans, is getting to know your employees. I've seen some leaders, I say this completely respectfully, who don't really talk to their employees, don't really know what's going on the floor, and you're very engaging, and you're getting to know your people. So definitely pay attention to what Hans is saying here, because he's applying these strategies and they work. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you like most about e-commerce and this industry that has merged with print?
Cool. Well, e-commerce is, I think you can't even define a company as an e-commerce company anymore in 2018 or 19. So everything what you do is in some way related to technology and e-commerce. Mm-hmm. The good thing from e-commerce is that it's super scalable, obviously. In the old days you were restricted by the place where your company was located. And that's not the thing anymore. And so without boundaries, geographical boundaries, for example, you can scale up your business massively. What we've learned over the past years in e-commerce is that although people are saying that e-commerce is different from a local perspective, we found out that that's only limitedly the fact. So e-commerce is for 60 or 70% the same when you, for example, in Europe or in the US. Yes, there are differences, local differences, mm-hmm. but that only applies to the last 10, 20, 30% of e-commerce. And that's the beauty of it, I think, so that you can apply the learnings that you have from a specific market segment or a specific geographical area into new segments. And I think that's the beauty of it, the unlimitless scalability of the model.
Yes, definitely applying it into new segments is very important. That's how you grow at an exponential rate, by seeing how can this be scaled. Yeah. So that's excellent. So being a successful entrepreneur and having the passion and the energy, as well as the skills and know-how in building this team, how do you deal with critics? I'm curious. I know of a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, at times have dealt with naysayers or critics. What would you say to someone who would criticize you or put you down?
Well, so always be open for it, and that's the thing. And you started with that I pay attention to my employees, but I don't see our team as my employees. I see the whole team as the team who is doing it, and I'm just the coach or the captain of the team, and that's how whatever you would define it. And so in a team everyone is equal, and that counts for me, and that counts for everyone in the company, and that's easy to say, and that I realized myself that it's easy to say that for me, because in the eyes of most of the team members it isn't equal. But in terms of criticism or critics, I think should be open for that if you want to build a company with responsible people. So yes.
That's a very unique perspective. I've heard that to a certain degree, but never exactly like that, to be open to it. And I do see the incredible value in that. I see a lot of people who will completely disregard their critics, but I think that also part of being in the Netherlands and where we are, and your mindset and the company's mindset, is to really embrace that feedback and see what can be taken from that to improve more. Yeah,
we have that in general, I think, in the Netherlands, and even more in the Rotterdam area. Yeah. We're very open, very blunt in how we communicate with each other, and I think we like the most to Americans, I think. Maybe you can define that. So, but it's quite rare in Europe, to be honest. And but in our company, I think that's a very logical thing to work like that.
Yes, definitely. And very quickly before we transition into the second half here is, I wanted to know for myself and for other entrepreneurs out there, what do you like most about working for yourself?
I've never done differently, so I think it's a standard answer, obviously, but it's the freedom that's it's not only the freedom, it's building your dreams in exactly the way that you want it to be built. I think that's what it is. it is not because of freedom, to be honest, because you don't have any freedom when you are growing a company at the pace as we do. You're always working, but that's the beauty of it. And so it's chasing your dreams in the way that you want them to chase, and making these own choices. I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, I agree, and very well said there. So, transitioning briefly back to the topic of culture and the type of workplace you have something magical here, and I'm wondering, how do you go about resolving internal disputes? Some companies do this poorly, some do it well, and a lot are somewhere in between. But what's your process for that?
We don't have a process for it, and I think that's how you should do it, because it's all about communication and listening to each other, and we make a hell of a lot of mistakes in that particular area, but not on purpose. And we always try to find a solution that's reasonable in a very open and communicative way. And sometimes we lack about it, but not because we want that, but just because of reasons. And I hate it when that happens. Yeah. But I think in our company we try to solve disputes instantly, and I think that's what it is. So don't hide it. Be very open and try to find a solution, because there's always a solution. Yeah. So
a lot of amazing points right there. Thinking in terms of solutions, leaders are thinking in terms of solution. I love how you said keeping the focus on communication is beautiful, and I would definitely encourage you and your own organization to make sure that you are giving a lot of transparency to everyone involved in different projects, etc. So what would you say is one of your biggest setbacks, and how did you get past it?
Well, if you talk in terms of setbacks in the Helloprint period, that was definitely our growth in 2016.
Okay.
We now even have a word for it. We now call it the 2016 syndrome. Because, and I think it is something that growth entrepreneurs or growth companies are recognizing. So if you're scaling up your company and you're scaling it too fast in terms of getting new people on board, then you're losing your entrepreneurial vibe, but also your cultural vibe. And for example, in 2016, we started the year with 41 team members. At the end of the year, we had 141 team members.
Wow.
And we basically evolved that in 3 or 4 or 5 months' time. And it was simply too much. So we couldn't keep up culturally by that growth. And not even in terms of results, etc., because that all evolved super well. But we couldn't manage it anymore. So what we saw is that our culture was completely changing in from a very high performance culture, small, very intimate, very passionate, into just a working culture where people were working and making their hours, etc. And that was so not what we wanted.
Yeah.
So we instantly fixed that afterwards. And from the team that joined Helloprint in 2016, most of them are gone. And most of the people afterwards who joined, where we took, again, a very close look on the recruitment process, etc., almost everyone is here. So, yeah, I think that was the biggest setback. But it was also the biggest learning of my life and our lives, I think. That you always need to stick towards culture and towards the characteristics that you need and want in your team.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being so open and transparent about that, and framing it in a learning environment where you can use those lessons to grow further is very important. And I think a lot of companies do lose that culture as they grow. So it's great that you're mindful of that. So a few more questions here.
Yeah.
You come across as confident and self-assured. You're smart, and you also have the humility to listen to feedback. So I am very interested as an author between the balance between confidence and humility, and I find it is always a balance, and I myself have gone to one side or the other too much, and I'm constantly working on finding that middle way. But how do you balance confidence, believing in yourself, and humility, being grounded, listening to feedback, and not getting too big of a head?
I don't know how I do, to be very honest. I do it. I think 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 I do like I am, I think, and I'm not thinking about that, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I also think that leadership is not a trick, so
Yeah.
I think you need to be yourself and need to be open, and I can be a super pain in the ass for everyone,
Yeah.
and I can be very, very unfair in terms of shouting to people and when I'm very mad, and then I apologize afterwards. But I think that's it's just a matter of being passionate. So I honestly I don't have an answer on your question. Yeah.
I don't either. It's a constant self-evaluation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an inner journey. So
Yeah.
you walk us through your thought process there, and I think that's something that we all deal with to one degree or another. So that was excellent. How would you say Helloprint most is differentiated from other competitors or even just other companies in general?
Well, I think our biggest difference is that culture.
Yeah.
We have a super highly involved team, which is doing great things and unbelievable things every day, things that others think are impossible. I think that's the biggest differentiator.
Yeah.
And in terms of in our industry, what we do differently, we're the only platform in the printing business, so we don't own any printing presses, so we can massively scale without having any production facility. We're super technology driven and e-commerce driven, so we don't have anything with the product, but we have something with the technology and the whole process. I think that differentiates us from others, and at the end everything is copyable, or you can copy everything, but you can't copy the DNA.
Wow, that's very powerful. I like that a lot, that you cannot copy the DNA, and that makes you unique. And I loved how you said earlier too that as a leader you are with the team, all working together, which is an excellent example of leadership.
It's a journey. It's a mutual journey, right?
Yeah.
And we all stepped in this boat, and to a certain degree, one earlier and the other one later. But everyone contributes to that journey, and it doesn't matter if it is the CEO or the coffee lady or a marketer or a developer or someone in our customer service department in Valencia. This is the success of everyone, and that's I think the most important thing.
That's excellent, and that really answered my follow-up question, which was what gives you and Helloprint the winning edge, which really is this dynamic, high-performing culture. Any parting thoughts that you have for our viewers here today that you'd like to leave with them as they're engaging in their own ventures and initiatives?
Well, I can't define how others should do it, but listen to the team which is doing it. Be very open to do it together, and don't think that it's your company and your journey and that the team is doing it for you, because in the end that's not going to work, I think. But maybe that can work for certain people, but it's so much more fun to do it all together on one mutual journey.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer that also the fun factor of the facts of the things that you do is very, very differentiating, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. The fun factor, making it fun, enjoying the ride along the way. Great stuff, great stuff. As I talk to different CEOs, I'm possibly thinking about getting a book together in the future. May I feature you in that book?
For sure. Always, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much. Well, guys, you just heard from the great Hans Scheffer, who is leading Helloprint to ever higher levels of productivity, performance, and really engagement with the market of print products and e-commerce in general across the entire world, 8 countries and growing further. So definitely check out Helloprint if you're based in the Netherlands. Check out druxo.nl. Lots of great products for you to benefit from. Please subscribe to this channel. Feel free to comment on the video, share it around with your friends and family, and I'd love to know your thoughts. So stay tuned for more great interviews, and I will see you, my friend, at the mountaintop.